Welcome to Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton. I'm going solo this morning on a Saturday. I hope you guys are ready to have a good Saturday, good weekend to each and every one of you as well. Today's conversation is going to be about the team in the first 3 days of practice. The media was available to see the first 2 of 3 days. And I thought this morning and this to start the weekend off, it would probably be a good thing to kind of give you a overview of what I saw during practice, what I've heard behind the scenes, and a look at position by position where things stand very, very early in practice, etc. So here we go. Let me start with this. Texas had practice on Wednesday and Thursday at around 2:45 to about 4:30, 4:45. Then broke. First day we had Steve Sarkisian for media availability. The second day on Thursday, we had 4 players for media availability: Alfred Collins, Jake Majors, Cedric Baxter, and linebacker Anthony Hill. Now on Friday, what happened? They went to practice at 7 o'clock. There was no media availability. They will redo that again today. Later today, they will practice around 7 o'clock in the evening. It will be their 4th practice. Pads at this point can go on today. The first 3 days are nothing but shells and or shirts and helmets kind of stuff. Not any kind of real pads, but pads can go on today. There is also going to be a number of people at the in attendance at the practice because of NIL things. So we'll see if we hear anything based off of that behind the scenes for you later today or tomorrow morning early. Make sure you check out ontexasfootball.com to see if we have anything later tonight. All right, let's get going. Quarterback, it is a really simple situation to me. Texas has one of the best, if not the best, quarterback room in the country. Is Quinn Ewers the best quarterback in the country? I don't know. I would say that he's one of the top 5. Pretty quick to point that out from my vantage point. And then behind him, I think you have 2 terrific young prospects, Arch Manning and Trey Owens, both of whom, frankly, have really good arms. And I think Arch Manning is going to be a terrific player long-term at Texas. I get the sense that Trey Owens may be following in those same footsteps as well, based not only on what I've seen in the spring game, but also the practices I've witnessed him at, not only in the spring, but also in the fall so far. He just looks the part. And he looks like he's getting his feet a little bit better. He's lost some weight this off season from where he was in the spring. All right, now on to running backs. I would say running backs, the thing that's kind of stuck with me thus far through the first 3 days of practice are 2 parts. One is it is not just Jaylon Guilbeau and Cedric Baxter in that room. I think Trey Wisner is here to compete this year. How much so, I do not know quite yet. And I think that's going to be up to his production when Wisner gets on the field. But I do think that Steve Sarkisian is going to give him an opportunity early and fairly often to prove that he belongs in the rotation. Sark himself on Wednesday said as much that, hey, I think we have 3 guys right now, not just 2, but 3. I'll add this in the running back room. For the freshmen, particularly the guy Jarrett Gibson and Christian Clark, those 2, I'm really impressed with both of them. Gibson is more of an upper body, strong runner with good body lean. Christian Clark has a tremendous lower body, like that just looks like he has thighs for days. However, the thing with Clark, I think he has tremendous feet on the outside. He might be a really good fit for Texas. Of course, this is all long-term here because I do think Baxter, Blue, and Wisner are ahead of those 2 freshmen at this point in time. We'll see what happens because frankly, running back is one of those positions that you are going to have injuries at. All right, at wide receiver, there's very little question in my mind that this is the most talented room it has been 1 through 8 since I've been at Texas, or since I've been covering Texas, and since I've been at Texas. 1 through 8, they're legit guys. I mean, they can all run. They're all got either they all have either a high level strength or a long-term plan. I think that the question I have right now is, what is the mix going to be? And a couple of takeaways. Silas Bolden is extraordinarily quick. If I wanted to compare him to somebody that Steve Sarkisian has had, it would be Jalen Waddle at Alabama, more so than some of the other guys. Now, Waddle's a little bit bigger than Silas Bolden, so don't, Waddle's already not the biggest guy, but he's even bigger than Silas Bolden. But Waddle was fearless. He could run. It was lightning quick. He had good hands, and he was a little bit of a baller. That's what Silas Bolden is. He's just smaller. So keep that in mind. The second piece is Ryan Wingo is going to press for starting time. I just don't have any question for that, or any question of that. The only caveat I would say is if he does get the plays right, the timing right, all of the little things. But as far as the big things are concerned, speed, athleticism, run after catch radius, hands, he's got it all. As I've mentioned before, I think he's as good as it gets as a wide receiver prospect for the University of Texas. That all being added together, those are just two pieces of the puzzle that I think have stood out early. Some other guys, Jonte Cook, Isaiah Bond, DeAndre Moore. You also have Ryan Niblett, and you have Matthew Golden. Those guys are all in that mix as well. Who comes out of that is now going to be down to some interesting pieces. And I felt like Steve Sarkisian was a little he revealed a little bit in his answers on Wednesday. He is looking for people to mix together right and create a chemistry. And it could be two different groups of receivers, or it could be three and one person rotates in. He doesn't know yet. And I think that's a fair assessment, and one that I think that I'm taking to the bank, because I do believe Sark knows that he's got a lot of good pieces, but he doesn't necessarily know how the puzzle goes together yet. Good players. Really, really impressed with the wide receiver room as a whole. Maybe the surprise for me of camp from a positional perspective at this point is tight end. Jerry Hamilton and I have talked about this, and I think we agree. They, just like I can see that the wide receiver room needs to develop chemistry, and we need to figure out how Steve Sarkisian is going to move all the pieces around. Tight end, I can actually see the pieces being moved around and how each person fits already. And that's with two newcomers, or actually three really, in Amari Niblack, Juan Davis, as well as Jordan Washington. Now, Juan Davis isn't really a newcomer. He's been in the program, but I can see how Texas is going to use him right now. I can see how Amari Niblack is going to be used. I can see and visualize how Gunnar Helm is going to be used. I can even see how a Jordan Washington and or a Spencer Shannon might be used as an inline guy in certain situations as well. Add in a Malik Agbo as a jumbo tight end. It gives Sarkisian a number of different pieces. Amari Niblack is easily put in for JT Sanders in what he did last year. As long as Amari Niblack gets the playbook down and does not, jump off sides, doesn't make mental errors, etc., he actually will be an improvement from JT in certain aspects of the passing game. He has more speed downfield. He has a wider catch radius than JT, significantly. So I feel like if he does all of the little things right, and like JT could do, Texas is going to improve in that part of the game. Gunnar Helm is just better than he was a year ago. He's a little bit stronger, a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, has a little bit better relationship and rapport with the quarterbacks, all of those things. And then I can see Juan Davis, and Jeff Banks talked about this. He's the guy that blows people up in the A gap on the crackback block or on the trap play up the middle. He really likes some physicality. Now, he's not a great inline player, but he is a really good H-back. It's almost the modern day fullback in some respect. And if he's good at that trap block, and then he can also possibly get out and block on the receiver screen game, you can just visualize it. And then Jordan Washington, I think, is the young guy that they're kind of shepherding along to eventually take the reins. So all of those pieces fit together really well. And so that's why I believe tight end is probably, for me, at least at this point, the surprise of fall camp, just from how well they all fit together, the pieces do. Every one of them has a specific role that I think they can maximize with. It's a little bit different at receiver because I think Sark has so many pieces. He's not sure yet which ones are going to stand out. Offensive line, very impressed with Jake Majors on Thursday. He stepped up to the podium, had a tremendous interview session. It was only about 5 to 7 minutes, but he was clearly ready to go forward, ready to be a 4-year starter at the University of Texas. He had some really nice things to say about Christian Jones. That being said, he said, Christian Jones, love him, one of my best friends, but there's no step down here for Cam Williams. He's expected to be as good or better than Christian Jones was, and he needs to be if we're going to be a great team. That's kind of the mentality I took from Jake Majors, and I was really impressed by it. It was almost matter of fact as opposed to wishy-washy. Oh, we might be. I mean, it's just very matter of fact. Other things so far on the offensive line, DJ Campbell clearly has lost some weight in a good way, I think. He is very quick. He went through drills very quickly the other day, quicker than any other offensive lineman. The only other offensive lineman, frankly, that I think is as quick as DJ Campbell is actually Malik Ogbo, which I did not expect at all, by the way. But Ogbo has reshaped his body entirely from when he first arrived on campus, down from 350 plus pounds. He looks very interesting. He is currently the third string left tackle. Other news and notes, and Jerry Hamilton made note of this, and I think it's important. Working at left guard at this point on the second string is Cole Hudson. Nato Umeozulu is working at second string right guard. In the spring, that was backwards. Nato was working more left guard. Cole was working at both center and right guard. I think it's part of, I personally think it's part of Kyle Flood's grand plan to get these guys more snaps and get them more involved. We've talked about it before, and I think it's going to follow through this year. There is going to be more than just a 5-man rotation on the offensive line. That's basically what I hear, and I think that it will come to pass. Now, my question will be, I think it'll start off that way. Will it stay that way, or will 5 guys truly stand out and then they don't want to mess with it once they get into conference play? That's a fair question, I think, for all involved. On the defense, defensive linemen abound at the University of Texas. There are a lot of bodies in the defensive tackle room. Outside, however, of Alfred Collins in the upperclassmen, I don't think there's a guy that you look at and say, hey, that dude's going to get drafted. Alfred Collins is the only upperclassman right now. And when I say upperclassman, I mean juniors and up, where I think they're for sure going to get drafted. Jermaine Lole might get drafted, but he's not a guy that is going to win a beauty pageant. Then you also have Vernon Broughton as well as Bill Norton, big bodies. We'll see if they can make plays. Tia Savea, maybe the second best looking guy in there outside of, and I should have mentioned this, Jure Bledsoe. The problem with Jure Bledsoe, who is going into his junior year at this point, if he can actually anchor and give effort on a consistent level against the run. If he can, Jerry's talked about this much. He is as talented a player as there is in the program. At defensive end, a couple things that I think stand out to me. One, Barron Sorrell continues to look like a guy that is on a steady increase. I've mentioned that before. Ethan Burke looks good again this year. Colton Vosick looks even better than he did in the spring, at least physically at this point. Trey Moore is not exactly the most physically intimidating guy on the field. But there's a reason why he had 14 and a half sacks. He may be one of the more athletic all-around players at that position. Really, for me, the talk of camp in that regard has been just how good both Colin Simmons and Zena Umeozulu look. The two young freshmen. They are well put together beyond their years. They don't look like freshmen right now. Maybe Torrey Becton and the strength and conditioning program has really got things going, but they just don't look like freshmen right now. At linebacker, Anthony Hill spoke to the media on Thursday. He has been wearing some of the headsets for headset communication. He looks like $1 million and then some. Whoever his agent will be in the future is going to be a happy person. I'll put it that way. He just looks like a future NFL guy and continues to talk like one as well. Very articulate in his press conference on Thursday. Really like where he's at. David Benda is the side-by-side guy for him. Benda has looked good as well so far. Behind them are interesting situation. Lianga Lafau is behind him in the middle, behind Anthony Hill in the middle, flanked by Mo Blackwell. Well, Mo Blackwell is more of an overhang linebacker. I think Darian Gillette might actually be that other linebacker against a run-heavy set, as opposed to Mo Blackwell. We'll see. Blackwell is a senior, knows all the knows everything, but Gillette looks like he's added the right kind of weight, and his body is starting to respond after a year of having some leg issues or a torn ACL. Those guys, along with Ty Anthony Smith, make up a pretty solid linebacker group. I think there were some people that thought maybe with Jalen Ford leaving that Texas might have issues. But look, I'll say this. There's a reason Kendrick Blackshire transferred to Texas in the spring and couldn't break into the starting lineup or even then into the two deep after being second string at Alabama. There's a reason for that. Texas has some good young linebackers that have a lot of know-how, intuitiveness, and athleticism. I think they just need more development from putting the right amount of weight on them, getting them snaps, that sort of thing. So keep in mind that Alabama transfer did not break the two deep, and he didn't do it for a reason, because Texas, I think, is in pretty good shape at linebacker, especially in that freshman, sophomore, really that sophomore class with Hill, Lafau, and Gillette at this point. All right, in the secondary, probably the biggest news of the week has been that Jaylon Guilbeau is running some first team ahead of Jahdae Barron at star. Does that mean that Guilbeau will be the guy that starts on a given Saturday? I don't know. CJ Vogel reported on Friday that he's hearing that Barron will likely start at star, but may push out to one of the corner spots at times. Therefore, they want to get Guilbeau more snaps earlier with the first team. We'll see exactly what it all means and how it comes together. The one thing I'm certain of, after having watched our first couple of practices, Jaylon Guilbeau is ready to go. And so whether that's in front of Jahdae Barron or with Jahdae Barron moving to another spot, I don't know. But I can understand why the coaches want to make sure Jaylon Guilbeau gets on the field. He looks really, really good. He's reacting quickly. He's running. He's just got it a little bit, in my opinion. Is he perfect? Nah, nobody is. But he looks really good right now. I can see why the coaches have been so high on him. All right, at corner, my biggest takeaway thus far at corner, other than Manny Muhammad adding some armor, he looks a little bit thicker, not unlike Trey Wisner in that respect. Trey Wisner, the running back, looks a little bit bigger. Manny Muhammad does too. My biggest takeaway so far is how much better Gavin Holmes looks. Young man out of New Orleans, started a year and a half at Wake Forest, then transferred to Texas a year ago. And he really did not see much time at Texas, despite being the fastest cornerback they had a year ago. The reason he didn't see much time is because of lack of physicality. He has clearly done right by his body in this offseason. And he just has a different tone look and feel there. He is a long arm corner that I think, Pete Kwiatkowski on Wednesday said Jaylon Guilbeau will be probably the guy that surprises most people in the spring. And then about 2 or 3 minutes later, he said, "Oh yeah, I forgot about Gavin Holmes too. I would put him on that list." So take it what you want. I know a lot of people think Javion Cole, the transfer from San Jose State, may sneak in there and take that spot away from Holmes. I know that some people think that Jahdae Barron might do that and move down or move over from Star. But if I were a gambling man right now, the starting corners would be Muhammad and Holmes, just from what I saw. Now, Cole may come out and make 2 interceptions every scrimmage, and all of a sudden, my statement's entirely incorrect. I'm just telling you based off of looks and what I know Texas wants. It'll be interesting. I think those are your odds-on favorite, at least for me right now, to be your starters at corner. In the secondary or at safety, a little bit different. I think there's a top 3. And then I think Jelani McDonald is fighting to stay in that top 4 against Xavier Filsaime and Jordan Johnson-Rubel. Jelani, and here's the reason why. Jelani is relatively new to the position. You got to remember, he's only got 1 extra semester on these guys that were playing safety, or that he's only got 1 semester really on the guys that just came in, Xavier Filsaime and Jordan Johnson-Rubel, because Jelani spent his first year at linebacker at Texas. So while he is a little bit older than the others, he's not necessarily that much more experienced. And he hasn't played a ton of that position even in high school. So what does that all mean? Frankly, I think that the 3 guys at the front of the line, Michael Taaffe, Andrew Makuba, and Derek Williams are those guys. They're settled, if that makes sense. What's 4, 5, and 6 in that room is not settled. I would add this about Derek Williams. We mentioned the other guys wearing the headsets, Jaylon Guilbeau and Anthony Hill. Derek Williams wearing the headsets for the Longhorns, headset communication. Not Michael Taaffe, not Andrew Makuba. So what does that mean? I don't know. I think it may mean that Williams stays on the field while Makuba and Taaffe may rotate more frequently, perhaps. That would be a little bit of a tell. All right, from a punter-kicker perspective, we have not seen Bert Auburn or anybody else do anything as far as field goals off the ground. We have seen the punters punt every so often, including newcomer Michael Kern. Kern looks pretty good. The one day that we saw extended reps for him, he was slightly inconsistent. One time he hit about a 48-yarder. The next time it was about a 35-yarder. My experience with college coaches is they would rather know that you're going to hit a 40-yarder every time, or a 38-yarder even every time, than one time get a 50-yarder out of you and the next time get a 35. They want consistency in that punting game. We'll see whether or not over the next 25, 30 days, Michael Kern, the true freshman, is able to give that to them over Ian Ratliff or Charlie Ferris, the other 2 guys going on at punter. Overall, my takeaway for the Texas team, highly talented. I'm not sure the chemistry is there that was there and apparent last year at the same time, because you had so many guys that had kind of spilt blood to turn the program around. A lot of the key guys, and Jake Major said this on Thursday at the press conference, this is a younger team. They're going to have to develop that chemistry, that leadership, that on-field leadership, really. I think they have some pieces of the puzzle, but it's not in some ways, it doesn't have those guys like a Jordan Whittington, like a Jalen Ford, like a Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat, that had all been through it. They'd been through the ringer at Texas. JT Sanders, another one. We'll see exactly what this means. I think it's highly talented, as talented or even more talented, by the way, than a year ago. Are they the same level team because of chemistry? I think that's a fair question and probably one that we need to watch here on. Again, they'll go back tonight, 7:00. It will not be a scrimmage, but it will be with the pads on, is my understanding. Then they'll come back, take Sunday off, and then go back to work again on Monday morning. All right, that's going to do it. We're likely to have some other updates later today. Jerry Hamilton and I are going to talk a little bit of football as well. CJ Vogel is back with us this week as well after having some personal issues to attend to. So we appreciate you guys listening in on this Saturday morning. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Thanks for watching the Saturday Conversation. Hook 'em.